Hey everybody, this is State Representative Gary Day, and in the next couple weeks, the next Pennsylvania Farm Show is going to be going on. Contact my office for exact dates and times for the Pennsylvania Farm Show. In a few moments, you're going to see my Farm Show television show from last year so that you can get an idea of all the things agriculture in Pennsylvania, all the things available at the Farm Show in Harrisburg. So I hope you enjoy watching this again, and I hope it gets you excited going into the holiday season to maybe make your plans to come out to the Pennsylvania Farm Show. I'd like to introduce you to Beverly Gruber, who's here with me today. Bev, welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
Bev, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things going on here. Could you tell everybody, now back home, you're the head of the Allentown Fair. You run the
Right.
Allentown Fair in Allentown, the great Allentown Fair, I should say, and you do a great job at that. You do other things as well, but for the Farm Show, tell everybody, what is your title and what are those responsibilities that you have at the Pennsylvania Farm Show?
Here I'm responsible for the farm products, and that includes everything from wine to wool to apples to the fruit to the vegetables, all the honey, maple, that kind of thing. I sort of have to coordinate to be sure we have somebody here to judge, somebody here to work with them, somebody here to watch the exhibits during the week. So,
right now, one of the things, when you have those responsibilities, that's a particular part of the Pennsylvania Farm Show. And some of the things that you do is help exhibitors show their different things, the different displays. What are some of the actual functions that you do for the Pennsylvania Farm Show?
well, they have to bring their entries in. They bring them in on Thursday, and then on Friday we had all the judges here Friday. They did all the judging, and then we had to display them. So by 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, they're look pretty for the public to come in and see, and then we have to be sure that nobody moves something out of the way or that kind of thing.
Right now, one of the things that's important about judging and people being able to show off their produce or their products, agricultural products, is to be able to show off excellence, is what I always think about. Is they work so hard to farm crops, whether it's produce or products in the field, but then to be able to show off to other farmers some of the things that they've done as far as varieties or sizes or things like that. So could you explain a little bit about the importance of being able, how farmers getting together helps them be better farmers?
Right. Well, there's almost all of these different commodities all have their meetings during Farm Show because this is their sort of what you'd call downtime. And they come here and they have meetings and they decide, maybe next year we want to add a different variety of apple or a different variety of alfalfa hay, or, they want to do something a little bit different, and that decisions are usually made here.
Now, speaking of apples, you mentioned apples. We're in this section that displays different varieties of apples. If you were out here, you'd be able to see all the different varieties. Behind us, the Pennsylvania Farm Show also sets up different technology that used to be used, and now we're using this type of technology. They show you that at the displays here at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. And then also over there, it talks about new industries, like there's a big push toward hard cider now, not just apple cider, but hard cider. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
And it's hard apple cider. It is still apples used in the product. I visited 3 fairs in England, and they all had very, very large apple cider, hard apple cider departments, and they had all sorts of entries in those. Really, really interesting industry. We have so many distilleries, and we have distilleries starting in Lehigh County, about a couple a year, it appears to me, and so maybe we'll soon have somebody making hard cider in our area.
And one of the great things that the display shows is that out of just about 30 jobs in the industry, our state agricultural department likes to produce and show people what we know as being involved in agriculture industry for so many years, but the economic spinoff is around $17 million when you go through, when you have 30 jobs, what that creates, and then all the jobs that are created from the industry. So those things are available here as well. If you come out to the Pennsylvania Farm Show, you can see those things. I just love this display. That's why I wanted it in our background today. I wanted to just ask you one other question. We were specifically talking about apples. We were also talking about how you have a responsibility in produce. But the Pennsylvania Farm Show, for those of our viewers who don't know, has a lot of other things. Live animals in a certain area. You could see alpaca. You could see what you would consider regular farm animals like hogs at different times and cows at different times. And you can also see all types of live animals. Also, there's an exhibition hall. So for all of our farmers or people wishing to get into farming, everything here is here in one place. All the things that you would want to see. Your people that are in your industry and also people that make products and give products into the agriculture industry.
Right, and there's a new area this year, well, it was new last year, a Know Your Farmer. You know, the new organics, and Rodell from our area has a big display down here in the Know Your Farmer area, which is really, you know, that's the up and coming ideas of putting stuff in these hoop houses, and, you know, very, very interesting, and they'll help you get started with that.
Bev, I'd like to thank you for being on this part of our program today. I really appreciate it. Bev Gruber is one of the great people in the 187th District dedicating her whole life to agriculture in her job, in her volunteer work, and here at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. Bev Gruber has agreed to join us for another part of our television show today. Bev, thanks for being here. Can you explain where we are right now, what's in the background?
Okay, we are in the vocational agriculture, or agriculture education they now call it, and these are all of the entries from all over high schools all over Pennsylvania and VOTEC schools all over the state. They enter wreaths, they enter landscape designs, they enter, such as this, they enter herb gardening, all these kind of things, and then eventually these kids will go out and get jobs with florists or in the green industry.
Well, and the interesting thing, the reason why I wanted to be here for this segment is that it shows a lot of our students in Pennsylvania are working on different technology, different things in the agricultural industry, whether it's landscape design or whether it's floral design or herbs, as you talked about right here. They're different things that take a lot of time and discipline. And our kids in Pennsylvania are working in the high schools through FFA and other organizations,
right,
the
yes.
vocational schools, and then they submit their entries into this competition, right?
Yep.
And then there'll be judges that
yes,
review
and these
it.
have all been judged. In your area, Gary, we have the Kutztown FFA that has a large number of entries in here. And they're all vocational horticulture entries, is what you call this.
And is 4-H involved at all? Do any of the clubs get involved?
No, this is only FFA in this
Okay.
area, the vocational horticulture.
Okay, that's great.
4-H does not do a whole lot with gardening, but a little wee bit, but not to the extent that we have entries at Farm Show.
And is there any other groups or organizations of people back home watching this want to encourage their children to be involved in this? They could go through FFA, Future Farmers of America.
Right. Yep,
right?
right.
And they can also go through the vocational technical schools.
Yes, because I believe that Lehigh Carbon still offers this. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I believe they do.
And in our district is Lehigh Carbon Technical Institute, and also in the Berks County part of the 187th is Berks County Technical Center.
And Northampton, although I don't think that's yours, but I understand they also have vocational horticulture.
That's great. So there's different things here. I wanted to show this off because I think it's important. Part of what the Farm Show does, and FFA, Future Farmers of America, that organization, part of what they do is take the skills and information about farming and pass it on to the next generation. So I always think it's important to make sure people back home in the district watching this program understand that farming is still alive and well. The 187th
And you don't have
district,
to have an 800 acres to do farming. You know, these kids, probably most of them are what I call city kids, you know, and then they can learn a trade by doing this. So.
And some of the things that we're doing is trying to expose some of the other state representatives from urban areas to the great skills that kids can learn in just gardening a small area,
Right,
maybe 20 feet
exactly.
by 10 feet, right?
Yes, and new this year, a lot of places are doing this cityscape business where they put stuff on roofs or in downtown Philly. I know I saw a program on television the other day where they were growing all sorts of stuff on the roofs of buildings.
Well, Bev, I want to thank you again for helping us explain what's exactly going on here at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. This is another great thing to see if you get to come out to this year's Pennsylvania Farm Show. And I want to thank you again for being on this part of the program.
You're quite welcome.
You get out to the Pennsylvania Farm Show is this area right here that has everything to do with organic farming. So organic farming is a wonderful thing. The people in my community at Rodale Institute, where we are in their booth today, they like to think of Pennsylvania as the birthplace for organic farming, and I do as well. Rodale is really the king of organic farming, not only in my district, not only Pennsylvania, but probably in the country and in the world. They work on trying to help farmers understand how to farm organically and using different methods to have healthy soil, healthy food, and healthy people. With me today is Jesse, the program manager for Rodale, for organic farming at Rodale. Jesse, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to ask you a question. Can you explain, really for my viewers, but explain to me, what do you think, you dedicate your entire life to organic farming. You really believe in the techniques and having healthy soil and healthy food. Can you explain, what does Rodale do with organic farming to help the industry?
So Rodale Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are really just dedicated to organic agriculture, education, outreach, and research.
Oh, okay. So now when you do that, education in the schools, other parts of my program, I've talked about how so many people spend time teaching skills to the next generation, our youth. So you probably have connections, Rodale does, with schools and talking about different things through education. Let's talk a little bit about, one of the things you do to educate is you bring people on the farm in the fall. Explain to everybody, what do you call that festival and what is the purpose of that festival?
Sure, we have multiple workshops and festivals throughout the season, but the largest festival we have is our Organic Apple Festival. That is always the third Saturday in September every calendar year, and we get up to 4,000 to 5,000 visitors, and it's just a really great festival that features local organic businesses, many of them from Berks County, and also it's a great time for your family to come out and harvest organic apples, so it's a great activity for them as well.
And it's really neat to me because as a father of three, now my kids are a little bit older now, but we've spent a couple falls at the farm, and also while you're there, we took a tour and people were talking to us about the different things that are occurring right there on the farm. And when I think about it, all the farm acreage we have in the 187th district, in Pennsylvania, in the country, it's a vast amount. But the work that goes on at Rodale helps people to understand alternative ways to using chemicals and other things, techniques for farming, to be better, to have better soil, to have healthier food and more organic food, which a lot of people are interested in now. So I really appreciate you being on the program today. There's one last thing I wanted to talk to you about. Right here, you have a display here. If you could come over here with me.
Sure.
Now, explain, how do you pronounce that? What is that called?
This is vermicomposting, and I learned this technique through our Master Composter program. And it is just a way that we use these special tropical worms called red wigglers to break down plant material. So for example, scraps in your kitchen or scraps from your garden, and the worms basically turn it into a very potent compost that we use to turn back into our garden. So you divert waste from the landfill as well as returning nutrients back into your soil.
And what's the purpose of using those worms? Do they do it particularly efficiently or better or produce better compost?
Yes, those red wigglers were chosen for basically two reasons. They reproduce quickly, they're communal, so they don't mind living together, and they have adapted and evolved to break down plant material efficiently and really effectively.
Well, I really appreciate, Rodale is here. Rodale is a pillar in organic farming for many years. You're continuing a legacy that started before I was born by the founder of Rodale. And I appreciate what you do and what Rodale, everybody does at Rodale. There's a lot of great things that Rodale does. I know also that there's a policy. Are you guys related with the sanctuary at Hafsville? The pet. It's not a shelter. It's a temporary shelter, right?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know that there was a policy where employees at Rodale were allowed to go work and walk the dogs and cats at the sanctuary at Hafsville. So it's
awesome.
yet another thing that people are doing at Rodale to be part of our community. I want to thank you for being with me today. Rodale is just outside of the borders of Kutztown Borough in the 187th District. I want to encourage all of our viewers to come out and look on your website for the different things that they can come on to the farm for. You said skills classes, or?
Yeah, we have workshops. For example, you could learn how to vermicompost like we just talked about, organic gardening classes, and just some of the fun events that we talked about before, like the Apple Festival.
There's many different things as you've seen on this program in the past. Here we're at a display to talk about aquaponics. Aquaponics is an interesting way to farm, and I'm going to let my friend from Intag here, Henry, explain a little bit about aquaponics. We have this in the background, and maybe you could explain what is aquaponics.
Absolutely. Aquaponics is a new way of growing. We are using fish waste and their ammonia that they create. Every living organism makes ammonia. Chickens, cows, we use fish. We take that ammonia out of the fish tank and we bring it down into a media bed. This media bed cleans the water, it filters the ammonia out, and with that we can start growing plants.
So the ammonia is actually the food for the plants? Is that what's happening?
That's the building block. Ammonia is the building block, and we use natural occurring bacteria that's inside the rock, and that's actually eating ammonia and off-gassing nitrates. And nitrates is the building block of all plant life. But yes, you need the ammonia to start.
Now, one of the things is to explain what we have here right behind us. Could you tell our viewers what exactly is going on? You started by saying you use the waste from the fish tank, but can you explain the whole system?
Absolutely. Here at Intag, we have a home system. We start off with about a 60-gallon fish tank. Here you can put any kind of fish you want. We're just looking for the ammonia. We have goldfish in here and some cichlids. Because of barometric pressure, the water is forced out of the side of the tank, thus sucking all the solid waste out. It flows down into the top of my media bed. Inside the media bed, as we talked about earlier, we have that bacteria. The bacteria is converting ammonia to nitrates. It is cleaning the liquid out. It is then getting pumped up vertically. A great way to do it when you're inside a house. Very little square footage. Let's go vertical. It flows down. Plants are getting the nutrition. They start growing. You can take this, you can use this for your herbs and basil. As you're doing spaghetti sauce, use your basil. You can get your mint, your oregano. It's a great way to grow inside your house while having a gorgeous aquarium.
Now, does it require sunlight as well? We need sunlight to hit the plants, is that correct?
Correct. Plants need sunlight or some kind of artificial light to grow. So we can either mount an LED light above it, or you would have this next to a south-facing window.
Oh, that's great. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, when the media, which looks like the rocks right here, it looks like small pebbles, when that cleans it out, does the person have to clean the media then?
There's the big question, right? Sounds like a lot of maintenance. I use something called red wigglers. Small worms, you put them inside the beds, they break down all that solid waste, turn it into liquid waste. There's very little maintenance between running an aquaponic system. The plants are cleaning the water for the fish, The fish are making it dirty. What you see right here, there's no external filters on, and the fish are living happily.
Now, one of the things, the company you work for is Intag, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Intag can come into your home and whatever your needs are, you told me that's what you are project manager for. You can come in, interview someone, what do you want to create, and you can help them and build the whole thing for them, for the customer, is that correct?
Absolutely. We do anything from a small home unit. We come into your house. Do you like oak? Do you like cherry? Do you want it on a countertop? Do you want it on the floor? Are you feeding a family of 12 or a family of 2? You let me know, we can design to that. We also go as large as commercial systems, 3,000 square feet, and even international jobs.
So the one other thing that you had talked about before, or that I heard about from you, is that you have partnerships with high schools and technical schools. Can you tell us a little bit about your partnership in Berks County?
Absolutely. Berks County is a wonderful school to work with. They have really embraced the aquaponics system. We actually went over there and we made one of the first ADA systems. They had a student over there in a wheelchair, and their big focus was we want them to be able to garden and go out and mess with the plants. So what we did is we raised the beds up. We made it so wheelchairs can go underneath. All the valves can be there. And they actually have a tomato tree, if you go down there this week, that's 10 feet tall. I call it a tree. I know it's a plant. 10 feet tall, grown out of aquaponics. They're doing wonderful work down there. You got some great students down at BCTC.
Now, many times, my next question is basically around what kind of things can a homeowner grow through a system like this? And so my specific question is, you think about a tomato plant, you think about it having a life cycle. And when winter comes, the plant dies, and next year you plant new ones that are grown. Many people do their gardening that way. How does it work with this? Does that plant stay alive forever, or are there life cycles to plants that maybe the people don't know about?
Absolutely. When growing with aquaponics, because the plants are getting a lot more nutrients in the proper lighting, they actually tend to grow faster. So we did some testing on okra, and the life cycle of okra plant actually was much shorter inside our aquaponic system. Not to say we did not get more fruit off of it. It produced a lot more, shorter life cycle, so we got to get a new crop rotation in there. You can do anything from lettuces and basils, right? High water content, but you can even jump over and do radishes, potatoes, carrots, onions. Just because we use a lot of water does not mean we cannot do the hard starches.
And one thing people think about sometimes is the use of water. It seems to me that this water is recycled, used again. Does the system, after it leaves here, is it cleaned and put back into here, or how does that work?
100%. You got it right on. We recycle the water. We use about 90% less water than traditional agriculture. When you water a plant, about 40% goes right to the plant. The rest of it's all runoff. Because we get the water directly to the roots, we recycle it, and we only lose a little bit to evaporation.
Hey, I'd like to thank you for being on our program today. It's really important, thank you very much, it's really important that I explain to people who can't make it out to the farm show some of the things that are here that they can pass on, use themselves, or pass on to their friends and family. I always think it's important when there's people from the district to talk to them a little bit about what brings them out to the farm show. So what brought you out to the farm show today?
Well, we've wanted to come for several years, but the weather's always been bad. But especially this morning in the Reading Eagle, they did a big article about this hydroponics,
Yeah.
and I also wanted to try the lamb stew.
Oh, okay.
And I did, and it was wonderful.
Okay, and there was one other thing. I think, Lee, you said that you like to come out for. What is that? The milkshake?
Oh, the milkshakes, of course. Everyone comes for the milkshakes.
And
That was the first thing we had this morning.
and Lee, what's the most fun thing to do that you've done today at the farm show? What did you see that amazed you, or eat that you loved?
I was looking for goats.
Did you find any?
Not really. I was looking for goats because I'm buying one for my son as a gift. Not this son, another son. But I couldn't find miniature goats, which is what he wants.
Now, okay, you said he wants it, so it's not a punishment. You're not giving him a goat as a punishment, right?
He has 4 other goats on his property. He wanted another one, so I was going to buy him one as a gift.
Okay, I just like to interview folks that are here from the 187th district. People actually do drive down. From some parts of the district, it's only about 45, 50 minutes. Other parts, it might be a little over an hour to get down here, but it's well worth it. Would you say it's well worth it?
Absolutely. Yes, and it wasn't hard to get to, and we followed the signs on 78. It took us to a satellite parking area. There was a bus there right away, hopped in, dropped us off at the front door. It was very easy.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I think it's really important to know access. When you see the video and you see all these people, some people might think, oh, I can't get there. But they do have transportation set up, and it's really easy to get to. Even when it's cold, at least it wasn't rainy or snowy today. That creates a little bit worse weather conditions. But if you brave a little bit of the cold air and come out to the farm show, you can have a great time like this family did here today.
So we're at the 101st Farm Show, started a new century, the Farm Show this year, and we've got a theme that we established last year of our Commonwealth's Blue Ribbon Experience, and realized that when we went back into the planning for the 2017 show, you really couldn't find a better group of words that described Farm Show and sort of what had happened over the past 100 years, and if you really want to project sort of what your expectations are, it's ours as a Commonwealth, it's Blue Ribbon in terms of top of class. It really is about the experience, right? And whether the experience occurs here at the Butter Sculpture or in the show ring, it's all about that experience. We spent a lot of time in the planning of how do you want to represent agriculture through this massive butter. And a lot of ideas surfaced. We have spent so much time in the last year talking about the environmental benefits of having agriculture here in Pennsylvania. But how does that really get translated for the public awareness? What we tried to do is to say we've got a lot of producers doing exceptional work across the state, stewards, and really this culture of stewardship, long-standing culture of stewardship, is really something we should honor and try to capture in the Butter Sculpture. The Blue Ribbon theme is about the experience, and we've got a lot of folks doing top of class, best of show work on production and conservation. That's what you see here today in the Butter Sculpture.
With this, we worked basically from the back of the sculpture, from the high point, kind of back down. And it really got very challenging because once you get to a certain point, then you can't really reach, back where you were before, up at the high point. And because there's just too much butter in between you and that other space. So it was really very challenging working around the piece and getting to the places that we wanted to get to. It was on New Year's Day, we took a break, we went home, and we put together this kind of scaffold system, so it basically is kind of pie-shaped, and so it has 2 legs and then also 1 point, which would stick into the middle of the sculpture, and then we welded it together, and then put a piece of wood on top of it, and then brought it back into the booth, and he had to climb on top of it, and basically it's like you're hovering over top of the sculpture, and it was pretty scary. This is about 1,100 pounds of butter, and this particular sculpture was just really eating up as much butter as we could throw at it, and at one point we actually had to order 2 more boxes of butter, so that never happened before, where we had to actually run out and get more. And so as far as what's going to happen to it afterwards, the butter is going to be recycled. It'll be taken by Rhineford Farms out of Juniata County, and they'll turn it into, they'll put it in their methane digester and turn it into electricity.
Well, that's the end of our program. We were here at the Pennsylvania Farm Show to show you everything that has to do with agriculture in Pennsylvania. I hope you enjoyed watching our program. If you need any information about this program or anything state related, please contact my office. The contact information will show on your screen shortly, and I thank you for watching. I'm State Representative Gary Day.